What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video, and today we're here to talk about the brand new KIZUNA clash versus Kuzan. Unfortunately, there is no free-to-play unit, and also, unfortunately, is we got some of the typings wrong in my preparation video, so hopefully this video is here to amend it for you guys. We have full free-to-play teams, and we have two separate teams that can beat all variations with no changes along the way, so hopefully you guys go on to enjoy the video today. Let's go ahead and jump into the breakdown first, the very brief breakdown of Kuzan, because we've already talked about him extensively. However, I don't have all the skulls yet, but do note that he does get a buffed captain ability via Limit Break expansion, and he is a very good captain after that expansion. Now, if we weren't so close to the anniversary, I probably would go ahead and expand him, but I just don't have the materials for it, so I kind of want to wait until anniversary to see how things go, and then I'll decide whether or not I'll expand him, because this unit is really, really good. Captain ability, Quick and Psy, 3.5 attack, 1.35 health. Psy and Quick slots are both matching to those two types, and then if you attack in the order of Psy and then a Quick unit, the rest of your characters on your team get a further 1.2 attack boost, totaling to a 4.2 times attack boost. Now, the difference is when he expands, he becomes in such a way where after you hit the order of Psy and then Quick, he becomes a 5 times captain. Yeah, he gets a really nice buff from 4.2 to 5x is nuts. His special ability is also very, very good, doing 100 times his attack in non-type damage to all enemies. Oh, it's only to one enemy, mind you, only one enemy, so that does kind of suck, but it is damage nonetheless. But it does go through base defense, which is pretty cool. He also reduces damage reduction and threshold by 2 turns, and changes all slots including block into matching, and then gives you a 2.25 attack boost to Quick and Psy, and if 20 or more Quick and Psy slots have been used before you launch the special, he reduces his own special charge time by 12 turns. You could build this in such a way where you're able to get his special launched twice in the same turn to enable you to get like multiple turns of damage, or multiple hits of the damage, or multiple turns of the debuff removal. So he's a very interesting unit, and he also gets some really nice buffs in Pirate Rumble as well. So in the KIZUNA clash itself, we can go ahead and have a look at the exchange, and because there is no free-to-play unit in this exchange, basically all of the boxes, or from boxes 2 to 6, that is where you'll get your hands on these skulls to super evolve the Kuzan character, and when you get to box 7, it's pretty typical from that point onwards. You can see lots of tablets, 5 of each tablet with 1,000 items, and still unfortunately none of those newer tablets have made their appearance in the KIZUNA. I would have probably forgave them if they actually gave us access to those newer tablets for not giving us a free-to-play unit, but they still haven't done that either, which is a little bizarre. So this is a pretty average KIZUNA. Like, basically once you get Kuzan maxed out, there's not really much point to keep going, unless if you want to get like additional ranks in the Pirate Alliance KIZUNA clash. But with all of that introduction out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into the video now with multiple teams that can take on the variations of Kuzan. Jumping into the teams today, the first set of teams you guys are going to see are all the free-to-play teams. Of course, you can go down below to the timeline of the video or in the video description to click on what team you guys want to go ahead and have a look at. So, of course, the free-to-play teams are not ones that I would ultimately suggest, but just showing you that you can complete it with free-to-play units on your team. And honestly, I feel like some of these bosses are kind of annoying. I mean, especially the very last boss has a lot of different gimmicks going on. But, of course, there are actually pretty decent free-to-play units that you can use in order to get around some of the gimmicks. Now, in this team here, I probably wouldn't advise using Lin, but it's an option, right? Lin, the reason why I wouldn't really suggest it is because when you use Lin special, it'll give you an attack boost for 3 turns. So it'll give you a powerhouse and driven attack boost for those 3 turns, which means when you move on to the final stage, stage 3, you actually still have her special, which does kind of suck because you would rather use X Drake special, which actually gives you a higher attack boost. But in terms of the other characters on this team as well, we've got Jinbei, who's really good captain. He also gives us color affinity boost, which is great. You've also got the Katakuri, which is very good for getting rid of the block slots, and ideally use Drake special before using Katakuri, so keep that in mind. Also, Smoothie and Oven special for very good, a very, very good orb boost. But of course, use Smoothie and Oven first, because they actually do an orb shuffle, so you want to make sure that you keep the block slots when you use the special of the Smoothie and Oven, so that you guarantee slots by changing the block slots that you're given into matching via the Katakuri special. A pretty decent free-to-play team, but of course, if you've got summonable characters, rare recruits, legends, they're going to be way better than these units. Moving on now to the strength variation team, and this is the free-to-play team that we've come up with. So we're using Queen as the captain because he's actually got a pretty decent free-to-play captain, plus his special ability is really good for getting rid of the rainbow shield on stage 2, the % damage reduction. Now as for the other characters on this team, we've got the Zora and Sanji character, and also Sasaki, both of which are able to proc the super type special of X-Drake, so that we can use it so that X-Drake himself does more damage, because he does have rainbow affinity during this event period. So if he has the super type effect active, it means that he himself will do more damage towards every single enemy. So it's ideal to try and build a team that is able to proc the super type of X-Drake. Now on this variation, on the strength boss, it is really good to use X-Drake for this, because there's lots of special reverse that happens on the final boss stage. So by using X-Drake as the captain, you literally get around like 90% of the gimmicks just with him alone for this fight. So all of the free-to-play teams are built with using X-Drake as a friend captain in mind. Not only is he really good for the event, but he also gives you additional tickets. I think it's a 1.5 bonus ticket. So, you know, if you can build a team with Drake, definitely do it, as it's just going to make your life a whole lot easier in this KIZUNA. It's going to make it a much faster and much more cleaner experience, that's for sure. But of course, it's not, you don't have to build a team with X-Drake as a friend captain. I would advise it though. It does make things easier for you in the long run. But you know, if you don't really want to do that, if you don't have any on your friends list, you can definitely build teams without it. But in terms of this stage, with all the special reverse mechanics that are happening, especially post level 30 with the additional special reverse that happens, I don't really know if X-Drake is going to be like, you know, he's probably the only option, or one of the only options that you can really use to effectively get through this particular boss fight. Moving on now to the final of the free-to-play teams is versus the Dex fight. Now, you want to be building a team that is ideally using strength and quick characters here. So we're using X-Drake as the friend captain once again, with the brand new treasure map Ulti as our captain this time around. Not only is she a character that a lot of people would have access to, but her captain ability is actually very good. And if you actually, you know, build your team correctly, the special ability of Ulti actually does allow you to get some buffs active in the following turn. I think it's a color affinity boost after one turn has passed. Now I kind of do screw up because I do put the support of a free-to-play X-Drake on Ulti, meaning that when we reach the final boss stage, I believe the support one for some reason had precedence over the clock buff of Ulti, but then again, I'm not really too sure how that works, because the final boss does remove beneficial effects and accumulated values, so I don't know if that actually removes the clock buff entirely. If that is the case, that obviously sucks, but either way, the rest of this team as well has the Chinjiao character. Now it is weird because it is versus a Dex boss, but we have a couple of quick units on our team. It's just that these free-to-play quick units are so good, especially that Ashura Doji. If you're able to get his stage 2 special, it gets rid of all of the defensive effects on this fight, and as well as gives you a conditional boost, as well as giving you a base attack boost for your slasher, quick, and powerhouse characters. Just so freaking good. Remember, don't use a color affinity boost or an orb changing special on this fight, because there's going to be interrupts that are pretty nasty that you just don't want to have to deal with. Alright, so now we're jumping into the next variation of teams. So shout out to my girl Karissa for helping me with this set of teams as well as the next set of teams. We ended up creating this one team versus all that utilizes Superclass Katakuri as the captain. Now if you take a look at all of these quests in this KIZUNA, if you have a look at it, you'll see that strength, quick, and powerhouse characters, those types of units are boosted on every single fight. Well, if you have that overlap of that on a character being a strength, a quick, and also being a powerhouse unit, they'll get, you know, the cooldown reduction on every single fight. So that was the ideal thinking of building a team in this quest. Now, of course, you don't need all of these specials on every single fight, so there is a little bit of wiggle room in terms of the characters that you can be using, but this team actually worked out pretty well, especially when you have a look at the supports that are on this team as well. Pay attention to some of them, because some of them are relatively required, but also looking back at it, the sea monster character, we'll talk about him a bit later, he is also definitely replaceable, definitely not needed, but the other characters here are super good. Just the combination of Katakuri and Drake, those two characters together can get you a full board of slots. You can get an attack boost, an orb boost, a base attack boost, and a chain boundary effect with all of them together. So just with Katakuri and Drake together, like that combo is going to be a hard carry through pretty much all of the fights, considering that Drake has that rainbow affinity. Super useful to have, but if you are able to squeeze additional affinity on top of it as well, you just get even more damage because of it.
悪かったね、こんな決着で。
Moving on now to the second boss with this one team versus all versus the strength fight. You see that on battle 2 against Doflamingo, we have to deal with the Rainbow Shield. This is what Sengoku is used for. Sengoku is also very good on the previous fight, but post level 30, considering your right hand side of your crew will be binded for a certain amount of time. Of course, no one's at level 30 as of the time of me recording this video, so we don't know how many turns of bind it actually is, but we can safely assume that it would be maybe 8 turns, goes down to 5 when you have sockets, so I'm assuming that's what it is, which means Sengoku can be used on that prior battle in order to remove that bind, and he's also used here to remove the Rainbow Shield here, which is great. Jack is also used on stage 2 for the first and second battle. Be careful about Jack though, because we do need him on the final battle of the final boss, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. And then of course the combination of Drake and Katakuri and all of their buffs is just awesome, and they absolutely wipe the floor with this Kuzan fight. So this final fight, you really have to pay attention in terms of what's going on. So we do have the support of Perispero, and that in tandem with the Sea Monster character removes all turns of defense and damage threshold on the Kuzan fight on the final boss stage. However, you don't particularly need it. You could actually take out the Perispero support and put like Mr. 4 support for even more affinity boosts. That is definitely an option. But you can also use the Ashura Doji, which we actually showcased in one of the free-to-play videos that you guys would have seen a little bit earlier on. So Ashura Doji is really great, the arena one, but the only real problem is his cooldown is very high, so you do have to actually get a little bit of stall off with this particular team, and it is a little bit more annoying to use because of that stall for this final fight, but if you get it to work, it's awesome because he gives you not only the ability to just remove everything with one unit by himself, but he also allows you to get a conditional boost on top of it. So it actually will do more damage, and it is an option because you only need you only need the Sea Monster on this team for this final fight. So you can take him out, put Ashura Doji, and then put Mr. 4 support on Katakuri, and then on the final boss fight, you can use the Katakuri support, the Katakuri special, which gives you the color affinity, and then you can use the Jack special to remove paralysis post level 30, because remember, if you use a color affinity boost, the enemy will react to it, which will be really bad. He gives you slot bind, removes your beneficial effects. You don't want to have to deal with that, so being sure you have a color affinity support or a color affinity switch effect, something like that, is going to be more ideal than using a special, because your accumulated values and beneficial effects are removed upon entering this quest. And for those of you who are a little bit luckier out there that actually were lucky enough to get your hands on X Drake, we have a one team versus all that is able to beat all variations with double X Drake captain. So this is my personal team that I'm using right now. Toki, of course, making an appearance once again. Now, we do know that Drake provides a pretty good attack boost by himself, and that's completely okay. But of course, if you have access to Toki, it's pretty awesome that you're able to do that as well. One really good thing about Toki as well is that she does have that crewmate effect to resist special bind, which is going to be very key in one of the fights a little bit later on. Otherwise, we may have had to tweak this team a little bit. Ashura Doji also making an appearance once again. We already talked about a little bit earlier about how valuable his special is on the Dex variation of the Kuzan fight, so it's just awesome and a no-brainer as to why we're using it. Jack as well, we can use him on the second fight of Battle 1 and Battle 2 to get a color affinity boost there to make sure Drake kills them very easily. We can move on to the final boss stage, and considering that Jack's color affinity from his special lasts for multiple turns, we can carry that into the final boss fight. We have Toki's attack and orb boost, and it just works out extremely well. And Zoro and Sanji, they're really here just because they're a block orb remover that works under X Drake to proc his super type, and that's literally the only reason why he's here. You could definitely switch out the Zoro and Sanji for any unit that procs the super type that also gets rid of block slots. So there's a couple of different ways you could do that. You could put a powerhouse, or a powerhouse Luffy would be more ideal. With the Brûlé support is also an option. So there's a couple of different options out there. This is just the one that I decided to land on. And now move on to the second fight versus the strength variation of Kuzan. So this is the one where the Rainbow Shield is going to be appearing on Battle 2. But, you know, luckily for us, because of the double X Drake and all of the effects that we have active, we actually don't need to worry about the Rainbow Shield at all. Which is actually, that goes for a lot of other Kizunas. Like, if you have, like, such a high multiplier captain, and if you have, like, one type of boosting effect, you have a couple of matching slots along the way, in a lot of cases, for Battle 2 that have, you know, % damage reduction effects, you can just attack through it. It's not really that big of an issue, so we're able to do that here, which is great. It definitely saves a special on our crew, which means we get a little bit more flexibility with team building, which is obviously super good. But remember, this is the fight that has all of that special reverse, and that typically is pretty difficult to get around, but luckily we have X Drake to resist all that special reverse, which is fantastic. And in terms of generating slots, because we get a full board of bomb slots and they're treated as badly matching, we're able to use the Akainu support, which attaches to X Drake to get a full board of strength slots, which is wicked. So that actually helps out a lot in that sense. And then of course, you know, we don't know how many, how difficult it is to get the attack down removed via the chain effect that happens post level 30. Like, we don't know what your chain multiplier has to be in order to get the attack boost. I'm going to assume it's a 3x. It could be 2.5, it could be a 2, we don't know yet until we reach level 30, but just the amount of special reverse, when you have a look at it, at post level 30 is actually insane. So it ends up being like 5 turns of special reverse to the bottom row specifically. Like, that is just, it's dumb. I don't know why they decided to do that. But either way, this team works pretty effectively once again versus the strength boss. And then we make our way to the final boss of the video versus the Dex boss with the double X Drake team, one team versus all. And this is the one where Special Bind will appear on Battle 2. But in this team variation, we're actually not really doing much. Like, we don't actually have a boosting effect on Battle 2 here. What we're able to do is just try and find a matching slot on one of the X Drakes, and that's going to be more than enough. But luckily, Toki has a crewmate effect that can resist Special Reverse, which means that we are still able to use, or should I say Special Bind, which means that we're able to still use Toki's special on stage 2 to carry the huge buffs into that final room. And of course, if Toki didn't have that crewmate ability, we would have had to have switched out the team to accommodate for that. But luckily, we're we're able to do that, which is fantastic. So we get the 3.5 attack and all boost for the X-Drake, and of course we have the super type special of X-Drake to reduce the cooldown of the Ashura Doji, considering it's like a 24 cooldown for stage 2. It's absolutely ridiculous. Luckily, we're able to do that, and we can use the rest of our specials in just an effective manner to get through that boss fight, of course. Remember, don't use a color affinity special on the final boss fight, otherwise you're going to get absolutely destroyed. So, of course, we have a support that is able to provide some color affinity for us, and then it enables us to use X-Drake post level 30, or should I say Jack post level 30 to remove that paralysis, which is great. But anyways, that is going to conclude this video. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully it helped you guys out. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content that I post on my channel, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But other than that, guys, I will see you guys within the next video.